Today we have with us today Darshan, who's a product manager in Trimble. So, hi Darshan. So, can you just talk to you about your whole journey in this industry and how we have become a senior product manager now?
Sure. Thanks, Anna. Hi everyone. My name is Darshan Kamath. I have been with Trimble for little over 6 years. My entire experience is about 17 years. Uh, so, um, in this industry, I have been in the IT industry for about as I mentioned, about 17 years. I initially wanted to be a civil engineer because that is where my bachelor's was, and
Mm.
unfortunately, I did not find the right opportunities at that time. I ended up my first company was TCS. And there as well, I was trying to get into the civil engineering products, but again, for lack of opportunities, I ended up in the telecom IT products, and that is where I was for about 9 years, I would say. So the first half of my career was in the telecom IT products. I started off as a QA and then as a consulting engineer, customizing the core products into the customer workflows, mainly dealing with the database customization, building tables and reports and such. And then I moved into a QA role, and from there, I was interested on the business side, so I did a 1 year MBA full time. Post that, I came to Chennai, and that is where my first product management role was. It was a company called as Plentron, in the same industry again, telecom IT products, but it was a mix of networking and IT products. There, I was for about 3 years, and that is where I built up my product management foundations after the MBA, and then I moved into Trimble. So that has been the journey.
Yeah. So, what is crucial, do you think, for people who aspire to become product managers?
Um, I would say three things. Um, Um, One is the curiosity to learn, because product management as a career gives you opportunities and challenges, throws challenges at learning various facets of business, whether it is technical, whether it is financials, market, competition. There are various, I would say, fields where you need to learn, and you will not be able to do it all at once when you start. It is only over a period of time that you get, and the circumstances that you work in. The curiosity to learn is the first part. Persistence is the second part, I would say, because a lot of times product managers face challenges on learning new things. For example, you might be asked to do a market research, come up with who are the competitors, the industry analysis, where your current industry is, whether it is matured or new, and what kind of market strategy would you propose. It might be very challenging to learn these new things. We might not be exposed to everything at the beginning. So the persistence to kind of learn, the curiosity that I mentioned in the beginning, that is the second part. And I would say the third part is not be afraid of failures. Given the exposure that you get, there are always new circumstances, and you might fail, but it's uh, there are times when you will succeed a lot. There are times when you will fail. Don't get don't get don't be embarrassed. It's a learning phase throughout. So yeah.
Yeah. Well put, Darshan. So, any specific challenges that you went through to become while on your journey to become a product manager?
Um, I can remember two instances. One was in my previous company, Plentron, where I was starting the product manager role. There, For me, presenting the roadmap in front of the audience was the main um, challenge, because the internal stakeholders' expectations from the roadmaps are completely different from the external stakeholders. So I learned it the hard way, wherein when I had made my first roadmap, I thought that was the perfect piece. And when I presented it before the customer, their expectations were completely different. So it was a small organization. Unfortunately, that was escalated to the CEO of the company. So I had to do a rework, and then balance out the internal stakeholders and the external stakeholders' expectations. So that was one challenge. But the final version was well received. Um, that was one part, and I would say the second one was at Trimble, my current company. So last year we had this platform strategy. It was a completely new concept in itself, and when the leadership presented, it was completely out of the blue. I had no idea what they were talking about, and there were questions being asked because we are the product team, so we should be clear about it and explain it to others. But it took me about 2 3 months to understand the platform concept and what it actually is and what we were trying to do. Yeah, I think those were the two main challenges.
Now, in those kind of scenarios, right? So, how do you keep yourself updated with these industry trends and any kind of advancement that even the leadership expects, right?
Right. So there are a couple of ways you can do it. One is there are nowadays e-blogs and e-newsletters to which you can subscribe to. Some of the most prominent ones in the product management are the SVPG Silicon Valley Product Group. There is also Product Plan, which puts out. They are a company which does product management tools and softwares, but their e-newsletters are pretty good. So given the nature of the field, I would say it's a mix of the seminars that you attend. There are always meetups that happen within the city. So that is one part. The other
Mm,
learning source is the e-newsletters, which I just mentioned.
mm,
And the other one is, I would say, given the after the COVID, right, there are so many online communities, people chatting more actively. So there are a host of, I can say, like on Slack, right? We have within the organization Slack chat groups, which are
okay.
for particular initiatives. Similarly, there are Slack chat groups out there which discuss about the latest trends on the industry and the domain that you're working on. So, for example, I work on the construction sector, so there are 3D printing, Fablu, construction dive. These are some of the examples. So you can look out how
Okay.
our customers are evolving in their life cycle. And that kind
Mm.
of gives you implications as to how we need to evolve our product to serve their needs. So
Oh, wow. I think it involves some kind of great research and
yes,
networking as well.
yes.
So, what kind of networking strategies have been effective? So, since we talk about product management here, right? So, you need to get involved with a lot of people around in the industry itself. So, how do you do that?
Is your question in context of the internal networking within the company, or is it external?
Both, both.
Okay. I think networking is something which cuts across all the professions that you are in, whether you are an engineer or a lawyer, or a chief executive of a company. It comes across, but it is the nuances that matter. So, for example, I will talk about the product management. The product management, by its very nature, does not have any authority on any group. The prime responsibility is the success of the product, whether it is a client application or a API or a service, whether it is a B2C end users, or whether it is a B2B, whether you're selling to a business. So given that, I would say there are some core networking teams that are necessary for the success of the product, because that is what product management is intended to do. Um, um, Engineering is the most important. That is because The product management is like the brain who thinks about what ideas and what is necessary and what will be successful and most probably successful in the market. So the engineering is the one who it's like the limbs of the body who creates that, right? So the brain cannot function without the limbs, and then the, the limbs will not function properly without the brain. So it's engineering is one of the most important um, groups to be networking with. But apart from that, there are so many other people involved in taking the market, taking the product to the market and making it successful. So the sales, marketing, finance, and the leadership team. By leadership, I mean the C-level suit, because they are the ones who give the budget. So you need to show how successful the product has been, the understanding the core metric of the success of the product is very important. So that will determine the type of people you need to network with. So if it's a product like WhatsApp, the number of users is what matters. If
Mm,
it's a business to business product like Autodesk, it is the number of large customers who are there. So
mm,
then you depend on the sales and marketing teams. If it's just the end users, then it is how do you market your product to the end users. So the marketing team becomes important. So depending on the product that you use, these are the kind of, so you need to determine who your core networking people are, and
mm,
then blend into their. So sales and marketing will be gung ho about what you are bringing next.
mm.
The engineering will be curious about uh, uh, what are we going to work on next. I would say from a product management perspective, you need to be very empathetic with the group that you interact with, and then speak that language, not in a falsified way, but in a way that excites them. So they are excited to do your work. So I think empathy and speaking the language of the group that you network with are the core principles that product managers need to work on.
Nice. Nice, Darshan. I think that's well put. Yeah. And in all these kind of involving multiple networking groups, right? So, how important is adaptability in your industry? And how do you stay adaptable? Because you say that you need to involve with multiple people and talk their language, right? So, how is that possible? How do you advise to others on that?
I would say there are multiple strategies to do it. So adapting, right? One is the strategic thing. So by strategic, I mean there are always mindsets that kind of drive, whether it is a technological change or a product change or industry change, right? Recently we have seen artificial intelligence come up.
Mm,
That is in the technology front. It also impacts the product. It impacts the sales and marketing.
mm,
Staying abreast with and adapting to technology, I think there are various sources. So out there right now, we have various kinds of MOOCs, the online courses that are available, right? So that is one way of staying abreast with the technology. With regards to the product, so there are mindsets within product as well, like for example the platform business model, or the open source business model, or product led growth. So these are various mindsets that exist within the product world, and some of them have come from technology, some of them have come from the product itself. I would say the sources that I mentioned earlier, mainly the interaction with the people who are working actively in that particular area, right? Especially the product area. I think that is the best way to do it. Earlier, there was this need to be physically present at these meetups. Now with the online tools, it's much easier. So people gather up together on meetings and online meetups and do it. So I think
mm.
that's the best way to do it.
Okay. So I think you had a part to my next question as well. So with this upcoming new generation on AI and machine learning, right? So do you see it as a potential challenge in general to the industry, or how do we see it? Do you see it as a boon or a bane?
So any any change, any significant change, is initially perceived as a danger. So when we saw computers, the first generation of computers come, we were worried that it would completely replace human jobs. So um, but that was not the case. We see computers now complementing our jobs actually. I see artificial intelligence in the same lens. It's going to complement our jobs. Um, but science as such, engineering, like science, it has got both sides, right? So it's up to the people how they use it. In my opinion, it's definitely something that will help us a lot. But yes, there are ethical we recently had this deep fake picture
Yep.
leak, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
of a celebrity. So I mean, there are people out there trying to manipulate, but
Mm.
yeah, it's. I would say the larger public is not such, and it is definitely a boom. I would say, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And so these days, right? So we see a lot of certificate programs related to project management, which even people with say 3 or 4 years experience try to do to become product managers, right? So what is your take on that? And what do you see from your experience as well, like a minimum years of experience in this field to become a successful product manager?
I would say so. If you're so product management is a very open career, and then people from various walks of life come into it. So people from support, user experience, QA. I myself am from QA. Majority of my career before
Mhm.
my product management, um, uh, engineering, development. So there are people from all walks of life who come into product. Um, it's very hard to quantify a minimum level of experience, but what I have seen, I can say that for me at least, it took me about 2 to 3 years to get a hold of what product management is. That is after my MBA.
Oh.
Before MBA, I had absolutely no clue about what are the financials, what is the industry trend, how does the market behave. So what are product operations, what are business operations. So those were absolutely Greek and Latin to me. So only after MBA I understood it. But when I got into product management, was I able to actually understand where the financials apply. So the balance sheet, the income statement, how it
Mm.
matters to the product, how can we price the product. So those considerations, right?
Mm.
Um, it's like a nostalgia that comes back to you when you start working. So I would say at least 2 to 3 years is a good timeline, and it depends on the person, right?
Mm.
Um, all of us have got our own learning curves.
Mm.
So I would say at least 2 to 3 years is a good timeline to get
Mm.
the get hold of. And with regards to certification, if you are in the field working, I would say completely focus on it, because certification program, um, regardless of how easy it might be, I am not saying certification programs are easy, but it takes out your time. There will be a minimum time you need to devote to get a proper certification.
Yeah.
If you are in the field working on the product management and you're into it, I would say dedicate full time into it, and then get a hold of how it works on the field. And if you're able to showcase that, that is more valuable wherever you want to showcase it, right? Whether you're interacting with the people, or you're taking it up for an interview, or you're changing your field within your own
Mm.
organization, that is the best. If you're not able to work in that field due to various reasons, right? You might be in a complete different career track, like I was actually.
Mm.
In those cases, certification really work. I
Mm.
would say, in addition to the certification, please go ahead with some internship or something with a working professional, either as a mentor or something. So
Mm.
you get the hang of how what you have learned in certification can be applied on the field. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I think those are like great insights. I think they even add value when you are trying to interview a prospective product manager, right? So they'll come up with all these qualities
yeah,
and
yeah.
it'll be an easy click as well. Yeah, I think those are so you're talking about mentorship, right? So just a last question before we wrap up. So uh what the role of mentorship has played in your professional growth?
I would say my product management entirely is from a mentor in my
Okay.
first company actually. Uh, so, um, um, so in the first company in Plantron, the vice president of product, he was and still continues to be my mentor actually. He
Oh,
was an
wow.
he was an entrepreneur. He had a couple of companies and all the basics of product management I learned from him actually.
Wow. Mm.
And then that continues to be the case even to this day. So I am in touch with him.
Nice.
I also took up offline mentorship programs even within Trimble from people from various fields, like what was relevant in my case at that point
Mm.
in time. I had mentorship from a person in marketing, and earlier I had mentorship from CTO because that is where I wanted to learn the platform strategy that Trimble was working on.
Wow.
Mentorship plays a very huge role. It's like after you have done all your research that you do off the work, right? In addition to that, if you have doubts, who is the person you can approach? So mentor is a very important person because he or she will be 3 or 4 levels above you. Ideally, that is how people choose mentors.
Mm.
So um, um, they have got real hand experience. For example, right, when I was product manager, as I mentioned, I was talking to the VP of the product. So he is pitching products to external customers. And when he moved out of the organization, he was pitching it to external venture capitalists. You might not have a chance to do that. When these people share their experience, it is like something you will not find in any textbook or in any certification program. So
Yeah.
it's I would say as good as a bachelor's or a master's program that you would do outside of an university. So yeah,
Great. Great, Darshan. Yeah, I think that adds weight to what a mentorship actually means.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Darshan. I think it was great interacting with you, and there's a lot of insights which even I could learn about product management. Thank you, Darshan, for your
happy.
time.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.